a joint meeting of the PHED and EC committees where we handle workforce. And we're getting very interesting and substantive update from a number of our partners. Thank you, Councilmember Rice. I think you may have requested that we convene for this discussion today. And we have a number of our partners on with us. And Jean prepared a helpful packet that summarizes how a number of these institutions are working on these important issues. So do we have Jean with us? Oh, we need to start actually. Do we have the feed? Is Judith or Equin?
Yes, council member. We are currently streaming. Thank you.
Great. Welcome to the joint committee meeting of the Education Culture Committee, Planning, Housing, Economic Development Committee. Nicole.
Yes, I will be the council staff for this session today. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Take us away.
Yes, so today we have an amazing panel of attendees from several agencies in the county working on educating our career pathway students and also helping them find employment, including Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, universities at Shady Grove, WorkSource Montgomery, and Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation. We have 4 goals for today's work session where council members can have discussion with the agencies. And the first goal is to review the roles of each agency in supporting career pathway students. The second, to receive an update of the impacts of the COVID-19 health pandemic on agency efforts to educate and secure employment for these students and graduates. The third being discussing the collaboration or the ecosystem and pipeline between agencies, including successful efforts and identified gaps in the system. And the fourth is to discuss future considerations and support to strengthen the career pathways pipeline, especially post-COVID-19. I would like to remind all of our guests who are here today, all of our participants, that there are several agencies. So as you respond to questions from the council members regarding each of the goals or to the goals themselves, keep in mind that your partners and co-collaborators would also like to provide some input on their role in supporting these students during and post COVID-19. So Chair Reamer or Chair Rice, we can start the discussion with the panelists with the first goal and continue from there.
Why don't we do that? Chair Rice and I have conferred, and I will be the first chair of the meeting. And so if anyone wants to speak, and if we're not clearly in a visible conversation where a hand wave works, please text me. Okay, and if you're a partner and you don't have my cell phone, just signal. Great, thank you, Nicole. Take us through the order here. Yes.
Just very briefly, I really just wanted to comment and kind of frame our discussion as we head into this, and really want to thank our esteemed panelists for being a part of this and highlight why this is so important. You know, we understand that we can do as much as we can with just reopening existing businesses, but understanding that so many of those businesses are lost. And unfortunately, some industries just aren't coming back post-COVID. We need to make sure that we're preparing our workforce for what are the jobs of tomorrow, and literally, as in like tomorrow. And those kinds of things are ones in which we have to navigate very quickly. That's why there was a sense of urgency in terms of getting this done, because what we need to do is ensure that we're hearing from both our partners at our institutes of higher education, both Montgomery College and universities at Shady Grove, about what it is that they're seeing and what it is that they're doing in reaction to what they're seeing to help those students who were in various career pathways or in jobs that have been basically decimated by COVID-19 and now looking to retool themselves, but then also for our K through 12. With Montgomery County Public Schools, understanding that many of our children who go through MCPS and graduate high school go directly into the workforce. And so making sure that we're preparing them as well from all those different facets, understanding we will have a cohort of students who haven't even had their senior year, who are just bringing back CTE students who need to enter the workforce, right? That's what they had signed up for and were ready to do. So we need to make sure they're prepared for that. So there's so many aspects that require an immediacy in terms of us understanding as well as reacting to make sure that they have the supports necessary. So just wanted to frame that before we jump in and why it's so urgent. We've heard it from our colleagues who have said, our biggest focus right now should be on COVID recovery. And of course, the workforce recovery is a key contingent of that COVID recovery. And so with that, I turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for framing this as I was still trying to pull up the correct documents on this very busy day. And you nailed it. A lot of these jobs aren't coming back, and there is greater urgency than ever in providing support for pathways. So terrific. Let's turn to MCPS. And I know we have a number of officials, so I'm sure they've discussed among themselves how they'll proceed. So starting with MCPS.
The council staff can also help provide additional guidance and structure so everyone has almost a first take at each question and role and goal. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Hi, this is Karen Stratman. I'm Chief of Staff with MCPS. Thank you for having us. What we'd like to do today is we can talk about the 4 questions that were presented to us. I know we have some leaders here, specifically in the CTE instruction space, to talk about some of those questions. I want to apologize up front. We had I had conversations with council staff. This is our big day for us. We added 19,000 students to the mix. Thank you, Craig Rice, for the nod of your head.
Including 2 of mine.
Oh yeah, right. See, there you go. I hope we're serving all your students today. So in some one way or another. But so we have 2 of us, myself and Nikki Hazel, who I'll turn the program to in just a second, or at least our first cut at some of this information. We have to leave at 2:30, unfortunately, for other reopening needs. One thing that we talked about with both Nicole and Sharon and other county staff is if there are things that we don't get to or additional questions afterwards, we're happy to come back with some answers that we can provide in written or however you'd like to see them. So just know that up front. So with that, I'm going to turn to Nikki Hazel. Nikki is our Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instructional Programs, and she's going to kick us off.
Thank you.
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. Nikki Hazel, and actually we have a few people here who we brought who are really close to the work, but I did want to say, and we just heard that our CTE students started actually a few weeks ago, so we're really excited about that. And some folks here are actually the ones that led the charge of getting those students back into the building. And they've had a really great couple of weeks back in and doing that simultaneous instruction. Some are at home and some are in the classroom, and the teachers have been outstanding. But really just wanted to start by saying that our focus in curriculum and instructional programs, specifically focused on CTE, is really to provide more of our students access and opportunities to these programs, with a really strong focus on our students, Black and Brown students and students in poverty, to make sure that they have opportunities to engage in these programs, that they are aware, that their families are aware of these programs, and that we are increasing the numbers of students participating. In addition to that, working with a lot of our external partners. And so Scott Murphy is the director of our CTE programs and district-wide programs. And along with him, Genevieve Floyd is here as well, one of our supervisors, and Elaine Kane Baxter is here, who does a lot of our work with community partners. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott to share our role in supporting career pathways.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Murphy, Director of College and Career Readiness in Montgomery County Public Schools. A couple things I just wanted to flag for the committees. First of all, this school year, prior to the pandemic, as you may know, we were planning for the opening of the new Seneca Valley High School. And with that beautiful new state-of-the-art facility, unfortunately, have not been able to fill it with students. We are slowly filling it with students. In fact, I was there this morning. Visited the auto lab, visited the new construction space. And it was just great to see students hands-on working and preparing for what lies ahead for them. Hopefully that includes continued post-secondary education, but for many of them, it is already including work. And I think that to answer one of the questions, one of the greatest interruptions obviously has been the absence of having the hands-on experience, the time in the labs to actually work in person on particular sets of skills and preparations. I drove down to Edison this morning as well. In the cosmetology space, as another example, for the first time, students actually being able to practice hands-on, which they're required to do to earn industry certification. I walked down the hall to the health professions classroom where the students were finally able to get back into the simulated hospital beds and simulate on mannequins and begin again these in-person experiences that they absolutely need to not only prepare for post-secondary, but enter the workforce right now. So we are just, again, we need to remember that has been one of the biggest interruptions for our students, is just not being able to have those types of experiences, the hours they need, et cetera, to prepare. The other interruption that we've had is the ability to access work-based learning, internships, apprenticeships, on-site, real-life experiences. A high-quality program in MCPS means a strong curriculum, but it also means real-life experiences in the real world through internships, apprenticeships, work-based learning. The absence of that has been difficult, and it has to be a number one priority moving forward. A couple other things I just want to highlight. One you may have heard before is an initiative that we're working on together known as Talent Ready. This is a regional initiative. All three education institutions are working together on the Talent Ready initiative, which is a regional strategy to develop pathways in IT and cybersecurity. We are working alongside Fairfax County, Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. Public Schools, Prince George's County, and Baltimore City in a regional effort to be nimble and to respond to the changing workforce, to allow the curriculum to evolve, to unfold, to change, and be nimble in the way that our pathways and curriculum are being developed. And the other thing that I hope you hear about as we go through the conversation today and with Talent Ready is the way our educational systems are all working together. I'd like to say, and I think it's true, that the momentum that we have across MCPS, Montgomery College, and universities at Shady Grove is picking up a lot of steam. You'll hear, I think, about ACES. You'll hear about ACES career readiness. I don't want to steal the thunder and with all of that, but I hope that you'll hear today how we are not working in silos, but we are working as one voice, as a unified educational system, so that we can prepare the workforce. One other program I just wanted to highlight for MCPS, it is a newer program. We're 3 years into it, and I think it's going to be more important than ever. And this is a program for students who are working. We call it the Trans-Ed Academy for Working Students. It's an alternative way to finish high school, but we provide intensive case management as well as online courses for students who are working. And so these specialized programs that take students away from a more traditional high school experience to support them while they are already into the world of work is really important. I have a lot of other things that we can talk about with our partnership with Montgomery College and different initiatives that we're doing there, as well as our pathways that go all the way through USG. But I think a lot of that will come out in the conversation as we go through. So I'll stop there and turn it back to the chairs.
Thank you very much. Really, the program you're mentioning, is that the one that the Greater Washington Partnership
Yes.
worked with you to and the regional? Okay.
Yeah, Talent Ready with the Greater Washington Partnership. Yep.
Perfect. Great. So Nicole, you had said that you had prepared 4 questions. I see they're above the beginning of the institutional presentation. So are there other comments from MCPS, or shall we move to Montgomery College and come back for a more general discussion at the end of the institutional presentations? Why don't we do that?
That makes sense.
All right. Thank you for being here on this incredibly busy day. Appreciate that. Turned out to be probably a lot more busy than we expected, when we booked the meeting. All right. Anything else from MCPS? Great. Let's go to Montgomery College.
Hi, I'm Steve Greenfield with Montgomery College. I'm the Dean for Business and Technology, and thanks for your time today. Montgomery College has responded to COVID with an even more concerted effort to make sure our programs, as Scott mentioned, are nimble and are aligned with what's going on in the workplace so that our students have opportunities to get onto career pathways that really provide a good entry-level wage and provide opportunities for upward mobility. We are consistently looking at data. We are participating in chambers of commerce. We're listening to our partners, as Scott mentioned, and one of the unique features of Talent Ready is it's our schools, but also there's something called an employer signaling system where regional employers have been engaged and surveyed so that we understand the moment-to-moment nuances of what's going on in industry. So we're connecting there. We're also using our own internal career coach program, which makes labor market data palatable to both staff and to students. Students can go in and see which career paths they're interested in and which ones they'd like to pursue. And then we build those career pathway programs and adjust them. And of course, we've had to adjust given the changes that have been caused by COVID. These programs are credit and they're non-credit. They're influenced by our advisory boards and employers, but they're also influenced by our connections with our partners. For example, Scott Murphy mentioned the Talent Ready program, as we referred to, and that one allows us to connect, to build a career pathway in IT and cyber that leads from middle school exposure through Montgomery King Code all the way through adults getting degrees and getting jobs in a career pathway. And there's a range of certifications and career programs. From HVAC is hot right now. We've got great HVAC and construction trades programs. We've got IT programs, early childhood education. There are a range of programs that we provide, and our students can take those programs, both credit and non-credit. Often our students are trying to take short-term programs that get them a job fairly quickly because COVID has created the staggering unemployment, especially in the 16 to 24 age group. And so students may pursue a degree later, but might want to get into a good career pathway fairly quickly. So workforce development serves about 17,000 students. And again, those students range from our most vulnerable residents who need basic skills and entry-level skills, all the way through mid-career changers who may have lost their job. They're dislocated because of COVID. And PhDs who just want to enhance their skills. So there's a wide range of students who access our programs and who then connect with employers. We do want our students to have the most updated skills and certifications. And so many of our programs are licensed by the certifying bodies. For example, in IT, Amazon licenses our cloud programs. Cisco licenses our networking programs. And we're connected to PMI licenses and certifies our project management programs and so forth. So we do have programs that connect with certifying bodies so students can get skills and certifications. One of the big challenges that COVID has presented has been students' ability to afford courses. So we've been very proactive and very aggressive about getting federal grants, state grants. We still have two U.S. Department of Labor grants that make courses either dramatically low cost or free for our students. We have a state earn grant, a gear grant, a wide range of grant programs that offer our students the ability to take courses when affordability has suffered during COVID. Montgomery College has also provided technology to students. Upwards of 1,000 laptops have been distributed to students who lack technology to even take courses and to get on Zoom and that sort of thing. So we're making a number of efforts to get students into great career pathways and into jobs. And I'll close with one of the best examples of the way partnership and funding and connections with employers have made it possible for students to get jobs is our bio boot camp, funded by MCEDC and WorkSource Montgomery. Students identified by WorkSource Montgomery, training at Montgomery College. Students are taking the courses for free. They did get to take in-person courses spaced and with PPE equipment at our biotech lab. And the early outcomes are fantastic. Several employers are starting to hire these entry-level students who didn't know much about biotech before they started this program. And they're going to get into jobs and onto that bio career pathway at $18 an hour and beyond. So those are the kinds of efforts that Montgomery College is making to overcome some of the challenges that have happened during the pandemic.
Excellent. Who do we have next from Montgomery College? Dr. Rai?
Yes, thank you very much, Councilmember Rice. Great introduction by MCPS, Scott Murphy, and then Steve Greenfield, really giving us a great intro to how our system works between MCPS, Montgomery College, and USG. I think, the Rebound Montgomery report that was developed a few months ago for our county, I think it's very valuable, and I think we should keep referring to that report. It has the lifeboat skills idea. If we look at our unemployment today in the county, it's about 6.5%. Where we have lost jobs, these are the jobs in restaurant industry, personal care industry, and these jobs are $30,000 a year or less. About 37% of our county residents have either high school or less in terms of their education. So 6.5% total unemployment. But if you look at healthcare, just unemployment in healthcare is only 1%, right? So the idea of Lifeboat is how can we come up with boot camps, short-term training for these people who have lost jobs in these other industries so they can get essential skills and get employed in the industries where they have jobs, like healthcare. IT has about 3% unemployment in our county. It's still lots of jobs opening. So that's where I think the examples of the boot camp that Dean Greenfield mentioned, biomanufacturing, a boot camp, our biosciences companies contributed to that idea, MCEDC, USG, all working together. And the students who graduated, I hear every day somebody is getting jobs, somebody having 2 offers, 3 offers, things like that. That works. But even if the pandemic was not there, $30,000 a year a job in Montgomery County, I think it's not somebody should not stay in these jobs for 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. Because if that happens, then I think we have to align our system better to serve residents that are in these occupations. So that's where I think more work needs to be done, and a lot of work is happening. I like to mention some programs like early college programs that are at now, I think, in several areas, including computer science, networking, health sciences, engineering, cybersecurity, biotechnology. Great example in the sense that a kid can start in early college biotechnology program and then transfer to UMBC's translational life sciences technology program at USG and complete an undergraduate degree and be employed immediately. Actually, there are so many job openings. Look at the networking PTech program at Clarksburg High School. 60 students are coming every year. You can finish your associate degree while completing your high school and then transfer to a 4-year program. And by the time you're 20, you're employed in cybersecurity industry. So these kinds of programs exist now in our system. They are new. Just, a couple of years old, Dr. Floyd is here from MCPS, very actively involved in that program. I think those things are important. Our digital economy, computer coding is a very important thing. If you left behind in that area, then I think a lot of these good paying jobs will not be accessible. So this is where Montgomery can quote an initiative that brings at least now only middle school students into coding in summer, working with Apple, Montgomery County Public School System, MCDC. Those kind of programs are phenomenal in introducing kids early to these career paths where we have good paying jobs. The idea is that getting these people who are stuck in jobs that are $30,000 or less, we have lots of job openings where we are not able to fill those jobs. Getting these opportunities to these people through boot camps, then credit for prior learning, and creating pathways into credit program at Montgomery College, and then eventually at USG is the way to go. We have initial prototypes. The idea is scaling up and having better information, better communication available in one place somewhere, one technology platform where people who are looking for these opportunities can easily find these opportunities. So those are some of the things that are happening. Our system is happening very well, but at the same time, there are areas where we need to focus a little more.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ryan. What I want to do, colleagues, is, and unfortunately, Chair Reamer had to step away for a moment. I want to pause here for a moment. I know that we want to hear from USG as well, but because I understand that we also have some time, short time for having MCPS, I want to give my colleagues an opportunity to ask questions of MCPS before they need to depart. And I want to be respectful of their very big day that they have before us. So I'm going to turn to my colleagues, and I apologize. So I'm just going to start the list over. I'm not sure where Councilmember Reamer was, but I've got Councilmember Navarro, Councilmember Jawando, and then Councilmember Friedson. So Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I really want to thank all the partners for this conversation. In particular, I want to thank MCPS for being here. I think that we definitely didn't quite pay attention to to what day this was. So I appreciate that you're here, and I want to be respectful of your time because this is an extraordinary undertaking today. Very exciting moment as well. I guess my observation and question, it's a little bit broader. So our last Council of Governments meeting as member of the Board of Directors, we did have a presentation from Paul Desjardins to talk about, he presented to us sort of like a snapshot of where we are in the region in terms of our economy, where we're going, some of the polls that they have done, what do people want to do once, they feel like, okay, we're done with this pandemic in some degree, et cetera. And I think what was striking to me was that I keep thinking that this pandemic has come to sort of push us, right, to do things that before we just sort of talked about and planned and thought about. For example, telecommuting. A lot of conversations about that. Pandemic hit, we had to do it. It's done. Now we're in the middle of it. So I guess just generally speaking, I would love to hear from the partners, what have been those conversations, not just about some of the things that you've done collectively and some of the things that you shared so far, but I'm really interested in this notion of scalability and thinking through post-COVID-19 as an opportunity for this county, taking into consideration the fact that Montgomery County Public Schools right now, it's about 72% students of color. So we know where the trajectory is going. We know what some of these communities are facing. We know where, generally speaking, our economic development strategy is going to be focused on. And therefore, I think it's incumbent upon us to once and for all decide to focus our efforts around some very strategic and tangible career opportunities and scale it up, right? It's something that I've been talking about for a very long time. Is there something like this happening that then we on the council can begin to think through? How do we fund these specific initiatives? So, I've heard some of the coding and I've heard some of the bioscience, life science, et cetera. But I feel like we always kind of do that. We talk about these and we we mentioned some of the particular efforts in different places, but I'm not hearing the scalability piece and how are we aggressively doing that. So I don't know if this is, maybe for a next conversation, but if you all have had time, and again, I apologize because in many ways, I know that we have all just been focused on mitigating the effects of this pandemic. So maybe it's not the best time to have this conversation, but that's what I'm hoping for. Because I feel like if we don't get to that point of literally just making some decisions about where we're going to go on the scalability front, we're going to be left behind. Just listening to what's happening regionally, where folks seem to be a little bit more, intentional and real hungry to get some of these things going. So just wanted to put that out there as something that I continue to struggle with in terms of what it is that we're doing here. Not sure who may want to perhaps take this up first.
I can jump in on behalf of MCPS. This is Scott Murphy, Director of College and Career Readiness. I would like to spend a little bit of time talking further about the Talent Ready initiative that I queued up earlier. We can talk more about the IT and the coding and the tech pipeline if that's of interest. In terms of scalability, though, in MCPS, when we build programs, there's a couple of things that define a high quality program. One is obviously the curriculum that is aligned to a changing economy, using real-time labor market data to inform the curriculum, as I said earlier, be nimble. So that's one thing about scalability that I think, are positioned to do pretty well. The second is the opportunity to start post-secondary education early, which you heard a little bit about from Montgomery College, that I think as a county, we are well positioned to bring it to scale. We can share some data on some of our dual enrollment students in MCPS who are taking college courses that has tripled in the past 2 years. We were wondering what would happen during the pandemic as it relates to students enrolling in college courses, students enrolling in special programs. Demand and interest is actually up. And again, just in 2 years, the numbers of dual enrollment has tripled, and I think we're well positioned to continue to grow, particularly in some of the pathways that we talked about earlier with early college, middle college, and other dual enrollment possibilities. The third thing that defines a high quality program is work-based learning. And I think that is probably one of our greatest challenges to bring to scale, to ensure that every single student coming through a career pathway program has the opportunity to get a head start in real life experiences in the job setting, through an internship, through an apprenticeship, through a job shadow, the list goes on. I think that is one of our greatest challenges in bringing to scale. One of the things that we have been working on collectively across all of our institutions is to try to do a better job of having one voice to the business community and to the industry from our educational ecosystem. So it's not MCPS calling about Summer Rise and then calling the same, USG calls the same people for another opportunity, Montgomery College calls the same people for another opportunity. We're trying to work together to have one voice from the educational community. I'd like to turn it over to Elaine Chang-Baxter, who's leading up some of that in MCPS, but also across all of our institutions. So Elaine, did you want to mention our work with the employer engagement ecosystem?
Sure. So thanks, Scott. Currently, I'm actually chairing a monthly meeting with representatives from UMBC, USG, MC, and MCPS to talk about what does this one voice with the business community look like. And we've actually looped in, I see Ben Wu on the call, and I see Anthony Featherstone. So we've looped in some of our colleagues to talk about how can we work together. We also looped in the Maryland Tech Council and aligned our work with Talent Ready. So we're trying to present as the educational systems as the one voice. Scalability for Summarize. There are some things that I put into my budget, to help support the scalability of Summarize. But we are looking forward to running Summarize this summer. To get some of our companies on board and not knowing about our virtual and live environment, we're actually going to offer virtual or live, and the hosts can decide. We're going to cut down some of the hours because we did a feeler for some of our companies, and some of them were feeling a little bit scared, not knowing like when we're going to be able to go back at full capacity and who's going to get shots when. So we're offering a virtual opportunity. And actually, I think the virtual opportunity is going to help us be able to scale, because some of the companies are saying, you know, if it's virtual, I can take more kids on. And so we're just kind of going slowly and kind of feeling out our hosts and figuring out like what they're willing to do. So we're actually are going to launch the registration for Summarize coming in the coming weeks. So again, we are working really closely together. We want to be one voice with the chambers and the business entities, with the construction. You know, there's so many chambers, if you will, whether it's construction or auto or just chambers in general. And so we're trying to have one voice with them, and then strategizing again with Ben Wu and Anthony Featherstone. How can we figure out, and the Workforce Development Board for that matter, we've looped in Mark Drury. So we're doing a lot behind the scenes to kind of align our work and then figure out how we can work better together and smarter together. Thanks, Scott, and thanks for having me on this.
Thank you, Elaine. So I guess in closing, what I'll say is that I know Councilor Murphy introduced a bill to basically almost streamline our strategic framing for economic development for this county. In 2019, I introduced and we adopted a resolution that created an economic development platform. Workforce development is part of that platform. To the extent that we can continue to align all of these efforts, because I think the narrative is going to be so important, as you were just saying, Elaine, and as you were saying, Scott, because you can't just, you know, we can't have all these different entry points, if you will, or people contacting if there isn't an alignment and a clear message as to what it is that we're trying to achieve. And I feel like we have this amazing opportunity post-COVID, because again, we're forced to reimagine and innovate in how we want to position Montgomery County for the next, you know, iteration of this economy. But the issues of equity are one issue that is front and center for me. It's going to be critical in terms of how we fare after this post-COVID-19 pandemic. And if we can capitalize on these amazing investments that we have made, whether it's through, you know, WorkSource Montgomery, Economic Development Corporation, of course, MCPS, Montgomery College, USG have always led in this area. If we can truly come together and understand, or maybe get behind a number of initiatives that are of quality we can scale up, I think we're going to be positioned in an amazing way. So it's very exciting that we're having this sort of preliminary conversation, but I just want to make sure that we're poised to then put some muscle behind a few really innovative initiatives that we can then check all those boxes of, you know, positioning our young people, positioning those who need better, you know, skill sets, those who have been affected by this pandemic more disproportionately, and at the same time, then provide that talent pipeline to, you know, companies, corporations, et cetera, that may want to either expand or consider Montgomery County. It's an extraordinary time. So hopefully we can have like a part 2 conversation to maybe react to some of, you know, some proposals of this type that we can then evaluate in terms of metrics. How are we doing, and how did we actually, you know, engage and provide some of these job opportunities for a lot of the folks out there. So thank you so much for everything you guys are all doing and for being here in this very important day, especially.
If I could just share one more thing.
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
One more thing, and this is a collaborative effort again with our USG and MC partners. The internship folks are starting to get aligned together, the apprenticeship work folks. So the ones that are doing that type of work along the institutions, we're coming together as one voice in terms of competencies that we're teaching. And also, okay, you can do Summarize, and then you can be an intern in MCPS or an apprentice. And now we're going to hand you off to MC, and now we're going to hand you off. So we're actually aligning our handoffs with the company. And so they've invested efforts with the one student, and now this kid is hire ready. So we are having those conversations in a very exciting way behind the scenes with our colleagues on this call.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I turn it back to you. Councilmember Jawando, I believe, is next in the queue.
Great. Councilmember Jawando, thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here. And I can say confidently, this is my favorite committee. because it's both my committees. And to my Fed colleagues, they'll appreciate that. Very important topic. Appreciate all the work that's being done. It's good to see Elaine Chang Baxter and Genevieve Floyd and Nikki Hazel and Scott Murphy. I miss seeing you guys around the table, but hopefully that'll happen sometime later this year. Just to pick up where we left off about ramping up, you mentioned a few things, Director Murphy, about areas where we need to have improvement. We were talking about work-based learning. Obviously, I'm very interested in that. And, I'm glad to hear that kind of articulation is happening. Ms. Chang Baxter, the point you just made of, feeding folks into the longer year-long internships and then into employment. I think everyone knows, I really, really strongly believe that every student should have a work-based learning opportunity, regardless of whether they're in a career and technical program at some level, and we should be scaling it up, going back, as far as we can to get those skills. And I know we have some in the curriculum, but getting them by the time they're in high school, everyone is participating in one. And I really think that's an achievable goal, that to Councilmember Navarro's point, that'll be one of many things to spark the interest, to get folks excited. We want to fund that. I know that's something. And so when you say you have a budget request to MCPS, and I'm glad to hear that, you're going to be receiving a lot of money, not from us, but from the federal government. And this is the exact time to make a bold investment in that type of programming, along with other things. But I think that's one now. When you heard Steve Greenfield talk about unemployment in 16 to 24, well, sure, our response to that has to be a robust investment in work-based learning opportunities for our students at all levels. And so I am really excited about the opportunity that this recovery will hopefully enable us in the funding to really be bold in that approach. And I think we have to. We know that this has been inequitably felt, and we don't want to lose, a generation of young people, to that. So I would just ask, you can comment on it, but I would just ask that you be bold and we work with you to really, really ramp that up. We've got 50,000 high school students, give or take. I'd love to see a plan within several years how we're going to get some level of opportunity of work-based learning to every one of those students. And I think we can do that, and I think we should say that, and we should do it. I'm excited to hear about Talent Ready. I'm glad that's working in the regional signaling system. That's going to be really important as we try to respond to the changing nature of our economy. And along those lines, one of the areas that I wanted to flag for you all and get you thinking about as we're thinking about what we need to do to respond is mental health. We have talked a lot about, and are going to need to continue to talk about, all the supports for our students and families that have dealt with these multiple pandemics and how they're going to reenter school. But also, this has been a strain on our mental health professionals and the mental health system. And there's been a lot written about this. And so I wanted to give you all the opportunity to talk about what's happening in that area, but also suggestion that we think about at every level, at the post-secondary, at high school, career pathways into the mental health professions, realizing that that's going to be a 10, 20, 30 year, they're going to be this, and I think we underestimate, because we're in it, how much of an impact this is going to have on the mental health collectively of the nation. A year of isolation, 500,000 people dead, everyone's affected. So we want to be, I think, preparing that workforce of tomorrow to heal themselves, but also to heal other people. So could you all talk about, from any perspective, MCPS, USG, or Montgomery College, what you're doing in that area, and do you envision, scaling it up at all?
This is Scott Murphy again. Yes, absolutely. We've actually already begun those conversations about the career pathways in mental health. As you've heard about before, we've tended over the years to be so focused on the tech talent pipeline that often career pathways such as mental health, or even in education, preparing the future workforce of teachers, tends to be a lower priority, and we're trying to make sure that that is not the case. So, for example, one of the new degree programs that we'll be rolling out next year for our early college pathways will be in, I believe it's called behavioral health. Montgomery College can correct me. As you probably know, career pathways in mental health, for the most part, require degrees, require 2- and 4-year degrees. Some of the things that we're working on with Talent Ready, for example, that take students seamlessly from MCPS to Montgomery College to USG with wraparound supports all along the way, with focus on some of our ACEs schools and our students in the ACEs population. We can lift up and take that model out of Talent Ready and apply it in something like mental health. Many of the institutions at USG have strong degree programs in mental health, in social work, and other related fields that we are working really hard together to have that seamless transition where you can start as an MCPS student and know you're going to finish with that 4-year degree at USG and get support all the way through. And one of those areas will be in mental health. The other thing that we will be looking to do, we've done it before with teachers, but now in the mental health space, who are those high school kids who already know they're going to be pursuing a post-secondary education of mental health? Well, we want them back right now. We want them to come right back to MCPS as a school psychologist, as a counselor. And so some of these pathway programs that we've done in the past, where MCPS will basically offer you a job upon high school graduation, go get your degree, come back, and you have a job with us, again, with support along the way. So that is an area that we are working on, starting off with a new early college pathway. Dr. Floyd or anyone from Montgomery College, if I missed anything, please feel free to add on or correct me.
No, you did a great job, Mr. Murphy, particularly when you spoke about the dual enrollment program that we're looking at moving forward with early college. So you covered that, and you covered that well. I'm Genevieve Floyd. I supervise career and post-secondary partnership. I did want to piggyback on what Councilmember Joanna spoke to when you talked about the work-based learning piece. Often historically, when individuals thought of that, they tend to just think of, oh, that's internship, or oh, that's just apprenticeship, and that's in the senior year. But to your point, we've been very intentional about looking at a work-based learning continuum and starting early and expanding what that looks like. And USG, our partners, are probably going to speak to this when they come on, but we've been working with them. How do we start K through 12 and expand into post-secondary to get those work-based learning experiences to our students so that when they leave us, everyone would have had some kind of touch point. So expanding what that means, what that looks like, starting early is definitely a part of our work. It's been a part of our conversation. Even at the state level, they talked about this and they put some things in place as well. That I think is great. It's great timing for us to capitalize on. Ms. Payne-Baxter also spoke about our employers and in this setting, how we have really done well with virtual experiences. So moving forward, that's something that we also want to tap into because more students have the opportunity to have that kind of experience before they leave us. So definitely work that we're looking at doing in collaboration with our partners, expanding work-based learning experiences and competencies. We realize that our students have to be ready. And we can't wait until they're seniors in high school to get them ready. And so we know that these skills are not soft skills. They are professional, they are hard. And how do we begin to implement that across the K-12 experience earlier so our students are not only prepared when we talk about academics and technical skills, but those professional competencies that are critical for them to keep the jobs that the skills allow them to obtain from the beginning.
Just an update from Montgomery College. We created behavioral health program. It's with MHAC. I've been calling them almost every other day. I think it should be approved anytime. And it aligns very well with UMBC's program at USG. So, creating early college is a great pathway. We know that we will have strong need in mental health area, but also the need for bilingual people in mental health is even higher. That's why having early college, our early college student population looks just like Montgomery County. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited about this. I appreciate the responses. I think we're well positioned, and it sounds like the work's well underway for us to have a robust response in both of these areas, along with all the other things we need to do. So I look forward to following up with each of you. Excited about this work, and Dr. Floyd and Director Murphy and Dr. Rye, thank you for the responses. The last thing I'll just say, the dual enrollment piece, again, another area. Tripled is great, but Scott, I won't put you on the spot, but I mean, that's in the hundreds, and is what I'm tripled is in the hundreds, correct? I will put you on the spot.
Yeah, no. We want to brag about this. We're talking thousands. Dr.
Okay,
Floyd?
good.
Yes, thousands. From 2019 until this year, we've moved from around 800 students who participated to over 2,700. And I would add that the greatest gain has been in our farm students, our Black and Brown students who have increased their enrollment, which makes me excited.
That's awesome.
Finally, I will share that, of course, Montgomery College moved to a virtual setting this last year. So not only did we have more students participating this last semester virtually, but a 94% pass rate. So not only are they entering, but they are doing well.
That's awesome.
They're doing well.
Go ahead.
They're doing well, and in May of 2022, we expect 730 of them will graduate with a high school diploma and college degree at the same time, 730. And they will be in the areas of health sciences, high school teaching, computer science, cybersecurity, biotechnologies, all the areas where we have a high-paying jobs.
That's awesome. Many of us will probably want to be there, hopefully, in person for that. That's a big graduation. Well, thank you to the chairs, and I could go all day, but we're very excited about this work. It's a critical part of the recovery, and we're here to support you. And let's be bold in what we do. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you, Andrew.
Thanks. I think I'll mostly just build on what's already been said. I totally agree on the inflection point that we have right now and the opportunity to be big and to be bold. I think, the early childhood to career transformation that we are going through and the different emphasis that we now have versus, K through 12 and college readiness, which, is just no longer a relevant model to what our economy looks like and what our students need. And so, I just really appreciate this conversation. I do think this is the latest in a really positive step forward because there are so many great things happening in Montgomery County. There have been for quite some time, but we're not always as good as the sum of our parts. And I think what this conversation is going to help us move towards is connecting all of these various dots so that they work together in a much more collaborative, comprehensive way, so that they're moving together, and that people actually understand what's happening and know where to go in order to access them. And I think that's such a critical part of it, to be strategic and comprehensive, to be able to provide these transformational opportunities. And I agree with everybody about the fact that we should try to utilize the federal funding, the tens of millions of dollars that are coming, to take advantage, to not just a little bit here and a little bit here, there, but really think of how do we target that funding in a way that makes as big of an impact as possible for as many people as possible, and really lays the groundwork for long-term sustainable skills for our young people and economic growth for our county. And certainly our young people are the greatest resource that we have. And so this investment that we'd be making today would have major dividends moving forward. I am encouraged by the conversations on Montgomery Can Code and Kid Museum and others for some of these, what I would consider to be modern marketable skills to build the tech talent pipeline. I don't think we've done enough for enough of our young people to do that. We're building that up. We need to make sure that every young person is graduating from our school system with that. And I'd also just point out, I'm encouraged to hear about MCPS looking at hiring through these programs and some of the warm handoffs. But I think we need a program that between county government, the school system, Montgomery College, USG, Park and Plan, you name all of our local public sector employers, that we all are hiring through this program. We talk about employers as if they're a foreign entity. We are some of the largest employers in the county, and so I'd love to see a collaborative, coordinated effort where we are showing how to be the back end of this continuum to provide a quality job with the skill set that we are training our young people with. So I think now is the moment. I think we all are essentially saying the same thing. The building blocks are in place thanks in large part to all of the work that you all have put in over the years. And I think if all of us work together right now, we can make sure that every young person has the opportunity to get the workforce training that they need, and just as importantly, the skills that are marketable that will allow them to generate good wages and wealth and a job on the back end that we can lead with. We can demonstrate by the power of our example in Montgomery County government as well as MCPS and Montgomery College. And we got a lot of jobs to offer, and we should be offering them to our own as much as anything. And what better signal to send young people than to see people who look like them, who came from similar backgrounds as them, maybe went to the same school as they did, maybe share a friend who's a sibling, working in a good job, to see where it all can end up. So and best of all, in my view, is we're spending all this money to train our young people, and we keep them here with a good job, because we lose too much of our talent that's homegrown to other places because they find a job elsewhere, and we want to be able to retain as much of that as we can, because we know we have a great system here and it's developing great talent, and we want to keep as much of it here as possible. So just wanted to echo basically the comments of colleagues. I really do think this is a moment. I look forward to diving into more details of how we can build this into a more robust, comprehensive, bigger and bolder strategy. And I know that we have partners all here ready to make that happen, and really do think it's a tremendous opportunity right now to do this, where we could really create and seize the moment that the crisis is providing, so that we're not just surviving through it, but we are thriving as we move out, and making sure that we're bringing as many young people with us to do so. So thanks.
Okay. I know MCPS has to leave, and then we still have to hear from USG and MCEDC. I just wanted to flag a couple quick things. I know Councilmember Navarro wanted to flag, make an additional point as well. The dual enrollment is exciting, and we need to keep taking that to the next level and the next level. And if there are ways that we can be more supportive, I think we'd all like to know. And it's just really a marvelous program. PTech, what is the status of our PTech schools? And can you just give us a quick update on that? And then very briefly, quantum. I think I'll wait for USG actually for that one. Yeah, okay. So PTech, tell us about PTech.
So PTech, currently at Clarksburg High School, as the as the state defines the P-TECH schools. Currently at Clarksburg, our first cohort of students are juniors. So they're now in their third year. Our first cohort of students will graduate next year. A cohort of about 60 students will graduate. And now we have a pipeline coming through each year. So upwards of now over 200 students in the program will be in the program at Clarksburg. Now, the P-TECH model, really is an infusion of college courses during high school, strong business partnerships that embed the work-based learning that we've been talking about, summer programs that help build some of the academic readiness and preparation for college coursework, as well as career readiness. And again, a seamless kind of handoff in partnership with Montgomery College. So that can be replicated. It doesn't need to be, a state-identified P-TECH school to do that model.
Right.
But that kind of infusion is something that we want to make sure is accessible to any student in MCPS through their local high school, as well as special programs like the one at Clarksburg.
Do you feel like you've been able to implement it now that enough through the Clarksburg initiative that it could be expanded if there were resources available? I know the state provides like $100,000 a school, which I don't know how much of it that truly funds, but what do you think about the ability to broaden or scale that model, even if it's not necessarily branded P-TECH?
I think that's well, go ahead, Scott.
Please go ahead, Dr. Rai.
So that's an area I think where we have an opportunity for growth. These 60 students per year are supported through a state grant. And Scott and Dr. Floyd can correct me. We probably get 300 applications every year just for the Clarksburg cluster. We take 60 because that's what grant funds, right? And out of 60, 30 every year are for the students.
And the funds pay, sorry, Dr. Wright, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but those funds pay for tuition at Montgomery College?
Yeah, it pays part of the tuition at Montgomery College, but not the.
So if we wanted to allow you to provide, if we wanted to scale the program more, it's like dual enrollment, but it's a little different, I guess.
Yeah, we can switch to an early college model and have an early college model with the same learning opportunities across more high schools.
So to the chair, Mr. Rice, maybe we'll reconvene on that specific one and see, let's, take that to the, get into it. Let's understand it and see. I know everybody understands it anyway. You know what I'm trying to say. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Second Chairman or First Chairman. I'm not really sure how we do that, but the other piece also that I would love to be able to explore even further, if we can come back, because it is another area that we have discussed a lot. We had that discussion in the HHS and Education and Culture Committee about this whole issue of culturally proficient behavioral health professionals, which has been this persistent gap that we have discussed for such a long time. And especially now, as it was mentioned by Councilmember Jawanda, the issues of mental health that we are just beginning to grapple with. The executive has, put forth a proposal where he has discussed identifying or getting, for example, social workers into the schools. Well, the challenge of not having, multicultural, bilingual healthcare professionals always stands in the way as a barrier. So would really like for us to put that on the list of the kind of initiatives that perhaps we can scale up even further, as it was just discussed that there are already some of those things occurring. Definitely we need to connect those dots and see what we can do. It's very much tied to, the funding and the expenditures that we all want to support in terms of COVID-19. So wanted to add that piece because committees have already started to work on that. And I think this would be something that would help, help us all. So let me add that one to that list as well, Chairman.
Yeah, that's an important one for us to keep focused on. We have aspirations for delivering these services more effectively, but relies upon our ability to hire people into these jobs. Good. All right, let's keep going. I think, Scott, go ahead, please.
Sorry, just to close it out for MCPS. Some of us are able to stay. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, good.
There is a ton of work happening in our ACES high schools with our ACES students. I'm going to just let Shady Grove talk about that when it's their turn, but I just wanted to flag that for you all. And also to close out on P-TECH, one of the goals for a P-TECH student is to earn an associate's degree. So it's not just a la carte dual enrollment, it is to earn an associate's degree. Another piece of data, just allow me to point out, in the class of 2019, we had less than 20 graduates who earned an associate's degree upon high school graduation. The class of 2021, that number is projected to be over 125. And with these programs that we've talked about, it'll continue to exponentially grow to several hundred graduates each year graduating high school with their associate's degree.
Great. Well, I have noted my co-chair, nodding enthusiastically here. We'll ask you and the college and the council staff to follow up and talk about how we could expand our support there and see if we can find something we can do there. So, all right, very good. Let's continue.
Yes, we have universities at Shady Grove who can speak now, as well as WorkSource Montgomery and MCEDC.
Awesome.
G, if you would like to start.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Kadamani. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. We're so pleased to be here, and this conversation is very exciting. And, I'm just eager to work with everyone to bring this ecosystem vision to light in a big way. So, Chair Reamer and Chair Rice, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. If I could, I'd like to just start. I've got a few opening comments, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Robin DiNicola and to Mary Lang, who are going to respond more directly to the questions that you've posed and some more of the detail. And then we look forward to the discussion that follows as well. I just want to build on Council Member Navarro's big vision. She put out a big, bold vision. She said, at this time with COVID, coming out of COVID, thinking about economic recovery, it is really a chance to reimagine or to really grow and expand this ecosystem in really exciting ways. And, at USG, we've been thinking a lot about, imagine that a student, every student who graduates from USG, imagine that they've had experiential learning or an internship of some type while they're at USG, that they have a job waiting for them, that they've got a career mentor waiting for them, that they are career ready, they've gone through the whole career readiness pathway, that they are debt free, and that they've had touch points across the whole educational ecosystem through their pathways, everything, preparing them for this, and that they have a job waiting for them in Montgomery County. So talent comes from Montgomery County and stays in Montgomery County, no matter what that job is. And I think that is not that far out of our reach. I think that it's very possible with the great collaboration that happens between Montgomery County Public Schools and Montgomery College, USG, MCEDC, WorkSource Montgomery, Maryland Technology Council, all of these entities working together. I think it's not out of reach. And I think we should think big and boldly about it. I think the dual enrollment holds all kinds of exciting possibilities, the pathway programs, thinking about the adaptive lifelong learning focus and how that shapes our ecosystem as well. I think all of these things are possible. So I just want to start with that kind of, to let you all know how much you've inspired us to think big, and I hope we can all do that together. You all probably know the universities at Shady Grove. We're a regional higher education center. We don't offer degrees ourselves, but we work with 9 exciting academic partners to offer 80 different degree programs here, graduate and undergraduate. And we're kind of like the go-between between our 9 academic partners and Montgomery County for workforce development and economic development opportunities. And through our partnerships, our focus is on accessible and affordable opportunities for transfer students who go on to earn their bachelor's or their master's degree And over 75% of the graduates from USG programs graduate within 4 years, and most of them stay in Montgomery County as well. They come from Montgomery County and they stay in Montgomery County. So USG has pathway programs with MCPS and MC. You've heard reference to them, a lot of them today, through our support services, scholarships, and our outreach focus on students who, if not for USG, they might not otherwise have the opportunity to attend college. Even, the trip to College Park or the trip to Baltimore could just be that, barrier that prevents them from going to college. So we have a very diverse student body. Many of them come from Montgomery County, and they have this opportunity to pursue their 4-year degree that they might not otherwise have. The pandemic has hit students at USG in very challenging ways, from food insecurity, job insecurity, housing insecurity, health insecurity, to access to Wi-Fi and technology for studying and for coursework, to the need for counseling, mental health counseling and support. And we've worked really hard to be a safety net for our students during this time. Our student services team has been phenomenal in trying to do this online and to think creatively and out of the box for how to support our students. You've seen that kind of creativity across the educational ecosystem with all of our partners. We've worked hard to be a safety net, but of utmost importance, the ultimate safety net is the need to secure internships and experiential learning during their studies and a job upon graduation. And USG's pathway programs, our career readiness focus, along with our partners, they're key to delivering on these priorities, I think now more than ever. So just to highlight some of the things that we're really zeroing in on right now, again, Robin and Mary will give you more detail on the pathways and on the career readiness programs, but I just want to lift up some of the broader strategic points that we're trying to focus on, particularly for economic recovery, but also for the long-term success and economic growth of the county. We have this brand new, beautiful biosciences engineering building that is ready to go. It's the physical infrastructure for STEM programs and STEM M programs. We want to fill that building. We want to grow tremendously the STEM opportunities, in addition to all the other opportunities that we offer here. But we see a particular need right now to focus on this. We sit here in the heart of DNA Valley. With the life sciences, with the potential to grow astronomically over the next couple of years, connected to government agencies, the NIH, FDA, NIST, across the board, so many different partners and opportunities to really focus on the life sciences. So one of the things we're going to be really focused on over the next couple of years is what we're calling our DNA Valley Initiative, where we aim to align our pathway programs, degree offerings, experiential learning, mentoring, and careers with industry partners across the life sciences in partnership with the Institute for Biosciences and Biotechnology Research, with MCEDC, with WorkSource Montgomery, with the Maryland Technology Council, and of course, with Montgomery County Public Schools and Montgomery College. And, as I said, the BSC provides this physical infrastructure. Our academic partners provide the degrees and the educational offerings across the lifelong learning spectrum. And our business, government, nonprofit, and community partners provide the networks, experiential learning, mentoring, and careers to not only support the recovery coming out of COVID, but to accelerate the growth of DNA Valley with a robust talent pipeline. And, we have a lot of work to do to make all that come together, but we're really focused on what are the pieces? How does this work? How do we, better connect all of these parts so that a student coming from Montgomery County Public Schools, from Montgomery College into USG has the experience all across, and they enter ready to go in one of these high demand, top-notch fields that can really, provide a wonderful career experience and a tremendously meaningful focus in terms of saving lives. I think Scott and others focused on the bio boot camp. I think Steve focused on this as well, that Montgomery College offered. We also offered in partnership with Montgomery College and with WorkSource Montgomery and UMBC, we offered a bio boot camp here as well. It was also extremely successful. I think every student coming out of that bio boot camp had a job offer at the end of it. This is an example of it's focused on the life sciences. It's focused on this DNA opportunity across the STEM disciplines, but it's also a point of need learning. It's not necessarily a degree program, but it's a higher order level skill sets that allows trained employees to pivot and to enter into new job opportunities. I think the opportunity here to keep talent in Montgomery County is just tremendous, and I think this is one of those great opportunities. I'll also just lift up the dual degree program, the dual enrollment program that we've been talking about. I think this is terribly exciting, and why don't we think even bigger picture? In addition to getting a dual degree, if there's a promise to return to the public schools to teach, or anywhere in Montgomery County to take on a high priority job, why not cover their tuition through USG as well? And let's think about these investments that could make this pipeline so robust across ACEs, across Talent Ready, across all of these different pipelines. Let's really accelerate them and think about what we can do to give students the opportunity that strengthen not only their future and their opportunities, but also Montgomery County as well. So I'm gonna wrap up there, and thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to address you all. And I'm gonna hand it off to Robin DiNicola, who's our Chief Student Affairs Officer, and to Mary Lang, who's our Chief Strategy Officer, and they'll share more details with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kadamian. Really glad you're here, excited for your work, and really liked what you are sharing. I think USG is sort of the top of the pyramid of our pipeline mechanism. From there, it's into the private sector. And it's really, that was really cool. And let's talk about that degree potential to work that into the system. Okay, Robin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. As Dr. Kadamian just shared, I'm the Chief Student Affairs Officer at the universities at Shady Grove. And I'll craft my remarks really, which is a summary of all the wonderful, amazing things that you've heard today. Around our 4 primary focus areas at Shady Grove in this work that we do in supporting career pathways in the county. The first, I won't spend much time on because Dr. Kadamian really did mention how really foundational effort is ensuring that we are aligning our programs and curriculum with the needs of workforce. Must be bringing the right degree programs that are crafted in the right way to be able to support workforce and get students in the right career path. So that's foundational, obviously, in the work that we do. And you heard Dr. Kadamian talk about the fact that we're focusing heavily on the life sciences arena. I'm going to talk more about the other 3 areas in our work. The second is student career preparedness. Now, you heard several of our partners already talk about how important this is. And we see it a lot. You could have a student who academically is gifted and finishes their biological sciences program with a 4.0, but they struggle in an interview, they struggle to find an internship or job placement because they really lack some of the additional career competency skills that are critically needed for them to be successful in their career endeavors. And so you've heard our partners talk about this idea of this career competency definition. We at Shady Grove drafted a career competency definition that we took. Our starting point was the National Association of Colleges and Employers, who had a great foundational definition. We tweaked it a little bit to make it ours, to make it unique to the work we were doing. And to your point, Councilmember Jawando, we really felt one thing was missing, and that was mental health. So we feel so strongly about it. We added a 9th competency around personal health and well-being because it's just a crisis that we have to address. And yes, we need the right programs to be producing students in those career paths, but every student has to focus on their own mental health. And so if we build it into a competency, we're ensuring that there's attention for every student who's going through the pathway to practice those skills, to get the help they need, to be fully prepared, just in life, but also in launching into careers. So we're focusing on this effort of this career competencies. Could not be more thrilled to have the partnership with MCPS and MC as we're working towards our first ever countywide definition of what it means to be career competent. I think that's pretty cool. To be able to be speaking the same language across the pipeline is a really helpful thing, I think, for families, for parents, for the employers. So that's something that we're making great progress on. Around career preparedness, you also heard a lot of talk about experiential learning, that's internships. We have placed a lot of emphasis on this. As Dr. Kademian said, our goal ultimately is 100% of students who should have access to an internship. And it's crucial because this is the difference maker in getting that kind of robust experience, industry experience that often leads to employment. So we work very hard on making sure those opportunities exist. And I'll tell you, it was a real challenge during this pandemic. The need didn't stop for students during the pandemic. So we got really creative about how to get students experiential learning experience during a pandemic. And we had some great success stories, but was it enough? No. I mean, we needed, many, many more flexible opportunities for students to engage in internships. And we've heard from students who have said they're worried about it. Without having an internship, that's one less thing I can talk about in an interview. They expressed concerns that they just didn't have time to pursue an internship because they had to work so hard just to make sure they were covering their living costs and managing classes during a pandemic that they just didn't have the time to take advantage of an internship. Something we have to continue to work together on to make sure there are enough opportunities for students. We were concerned enough about it and know how important it is. We created an internship scholarship for students who identify an internship but maybe is not paid. And so we offer scholarships for students who are in that situation. The third area, alignment with workforce, student career preparedness, but the third area that we focus heavily on is the specialized career pathway and career programming that we do in partnership with our wonderful partners in the county. One thing is crystal clear as we continue these conversations, and that is we cannot do this alone. We need the county, we need the educators, we need the employers all to come together if we're really going to scale this up in a way that's going to make a difference. We also know at Shady Grove that we're stronger when we work together with the students all the way back, as early as possible in MCPS, so that together we're training these students. The best example of the work we did in this area was with our Career Experience Opportunities program. We got a grant from the wonderful Hess Family Foundation to take a look at what would it look like if we took a group of ACES students who, as you all know, at the time, the focus on the ACES program was on identifying underrepresented students in higher education, wrapping around an academic support program for them, and other supports to help them to be successful in college. We wanted to take a look at that group and say, what would it look like if we overlaid a career readiness, a progressive career readiness program on top of that? And so what we did was we did just that. We created an infrastructure where at each stage, at MCPS, MC to USG, they had a career coach, they had access to career readiness skills, they had access to experiential learning, to see what would it do. And our outcomes were phenomenal in 3 areas. They had higher academic performance. So these students, 42% of the CEO population had GPAs of a 3.0 or above, compared to 28% of the comparison group. So they performed academically better. Their transfer rate, completion rate, was nearly 3 times that of the comparison group. So they graduated or transferred at 3 times the rate. And in engagement, 100%, that's that number we keep talking about, 100% of them participated in an internship. So it just reinforces how important the marriage between the academic work and the extracurricular, the career readiness piece is. And it was so successful, we overlaid this career readiness program to all ACES students, 2,700 plus students now. And what's important about that is it's the experience now that we have of doing this, not in silos. It's the example of pulling that thread all the way through, of creating a career readiness program and infrastructure, building in the supports, and pulling it all the way through. And we're learning from this. We're learning how to make systemic change. What's growing from that, you heard Scott talk about the Talent Ready, UMBC STEM Ready. That was our pilot that allowed us to really start to grow from that. And then the fourth thing is employer partnerships. Cannot do this alone. And Council Member Navarro, you talked about how do we scale up. We need employer partnerships in greater numbers to be willing to come to the table and continue to offer their input on curriculum development and programming. We really, really need more flexible experiential learning opportunities. We need them to mentor. We need them in the career readiness arena with us. And we need more career placements. And in some, we need them to train and hire local. We need a hire local campaign for Montgomery County to really get invested in why it's so critical that they train their workforce for the future. We need them at the table with us. And we've had some great success stories, many. One that I will share in COVID, we have partnered with NIST and NIH to develop a career immersion opportunity for students across our pathway, MCPS, MC, and USG, to immerse themselves into this area of NIST and NIH and science opportunities. What would it be like? And so we have created an asynchronous learning module. It includes interviews with the wonderful diversity in the scientists, videos of current research endeavors, and information on education and employment opportunities. And this is a lesson from COVID, because pre-COVID we could bus 20 to 30 kids, students to go to NIST. With this, we're reaching hundreds. And so we're learning some things from COVID. We're getting better. Some things we're going to keep in our toolkit, so to speak. And we've had some employers who are stepping forward and saying, we understand how important this is. We are invested with you, and we are going to help you try to expand career readiness and job placement opportunities. And just the foundational element to everything we do, the driving force for this is our phenomenal students. You heard Dr. Kadimian talk about them. They are beautifully diverse. They are first generation. They are motivated. They are dedicated. They're 100% transfer students at the undergraduate level, and they drive what we do. We focus our priorities around their needs, and we're successful, I think, because of that. Mary, do you want to jump in?
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, I think you've covered the bandwidth of what Shady Grove is sort of touching our toes into and being fully immersed in. The only pieces I would add is that we understand and are collaborative in terms of making this effective. This does not work unless we work deeply with our MCPS MC partners in joint industry approach, this joint approach to working not only across with employers, but also across our institutions, making the transition. Okay, sorry. I started video and then I got stopped, so excuse me. So I will just reinforce the collaborative approach. I reinforce the strategic approach.
Yeah, Mary, you're buffering. I think that's the issue.
We've done so far has been.
We lost you, Mary.
Okay, sorry. Then why don't we? Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm imagining our tech team turned off your video so that your bandwidth could be reserved for your audio. So
apologies.
Please
Apologies. So I really don't have anything more to add except for the collaboration is there.
I highlight the efforts and the future of Shady Grove is around not only undergraduate education, but pushing towards larger and opportunities in the graduate areas, including post-bac certificates and those pieces that will meet the needs of the workforce. So it is not alone to only us to think through only through undergraduate education, but really highlight the work of moving on to those areas that this workforce is going to need in the near future. So with that, I'll just be quiet for now.
Those are great points. Great points. Terrific presentation from USG. I feel like we probably need to continue and get MCEDC and WorkSource get their presentations. So if USG, if someone can stay with us, we may return to you for questions. All right, thank you very much, Nicole.
Great, and would WorkSource Montgomery like to present now? Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon, and thank you to all of the chairs for this invitation. And I'll just say this, Council Member Jawando, I agree with your comment earlier about increasing career exploratory, summarized-like programs. I think is the key when it comes to creating a talent pipeline. So I'm a huge proponent of giving those opportunities to all or as many high school students as we can. So MCPS does an amazing job at educating our young folks, our student learners, and setting them on a course for their career pathway. We have world-class secondary, post-secondary education institutions in Montgomery County, USG and Montgomery colleges who do amazing jobs. And those aren't really the students that walk through our WorkSource Montgomery doors. We want to make sure that when they come home or they're not in training for the summers or when they finish their degree programs, that we have a robust set of offerings for them once they finish their trainings. But our focus when it comes to the WIOA program that we operate are those folks who discontinue their education, our dropouts, or our graduates who don't necessarily go into employment or go into any type of training as soon as they graduate, or our college students who may get to school and figure out that college or a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree isn't necessarily the path for them. And those are the job seekers, the students that we're working with. And at WorkSource Montgomery, we're tasked with making sure that we're their intermediary, we're a bridge for them to help create a framework for their short-term and long-term employment and training success. I think we do that in several ways. Number one, we are targeting to increase apprenticeships in Montgomery County, working with our partners at the Department of Labor. So for our opportunity youth, which are typically, I guess, categorized as disconnected youth, that's not a term that I particularly like, but we want to make sure that there's access to earn and learn opportunities in the trades, the IT sector, the healthcare sector, and our life sciences sector. So we want to make sure that we're increasing apprenticeships, registered apprenticeships in Montgomery County for the students that we serve, and also providing a bridge to short-term occupational skills trainings opportunities. I think that one thing that we've seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I've only been in Montgomery County for a short period of time, but over the last 2 months, the word that has been given to me is that there is a digital divide, but the divide is more so related to hardware and access, but not baseline skills, which is it's refreshing and not so much, because we want to make sure that all of our students or opportunity youth that we're serving have the hardware and the access to get online and do the things that they need to do. But it is great to know that based on our observations that we're not starting from the ground level as far as teaching them how to turn on a computer and do the basic things they need to do to get into vocational or certification training programs. And a couple things that I think are working well right now when it comes to CTE programs and working with opportunity youth. We have a great partnership with Montgomery College to work with our dislocated workers, anyone who's been affected by the pandemic, whether your employment has been terminated or your hours have been cut. We're offering lots of training programs in partnership with Montgomery College, from CDL trainings to IT trainings to medical trainings and many more that I haven't listed. We're also working with the Literacy Council of Montgomery County. We've in a short period of time have lifted off a IT boot camp to serve 20 plus of our ESOL learners that are participating in LCMC programs in a hybrid model where they're learning in a self-paced environment online through one of our training partners, and they're also getting to come in safely and receive some instructor-led training. So we've seen a lot of success as a result of the ecosystem working together to make sure that that we're able to direct individuals in a way that makes sense for them to the jobs of today and tomorrow based on the pandemic. And as far as looking ahead, I think the future is really bright. The biotech boot camp is well known. We've got a lot of good things going on right now as far as the group that has just graduated. A few are in employment, a few have offers, and a lot have really positive employment prospects. So we expect to be at a really high placement rate within 45 days of that class finishing. So we're looking to utilize some unrestricted funding that's coming down from relief grant funds and other sources to continue to pilot the biotech boot camp and scale it and get industry involved moving forward, and to also implement other boot camps as well in the IT sector. We're really excited about that because we're starting not from the A+ or Network Plus level, but we're starting from a fundamental level. So we're meeting learners where they're at. IT can be a daunting or intimidating word for some of the opportunity youth that we serve, but we're making sure that we're starting at a level that's less intimidating, that meets them where they are with those baseline skills, so that they can stack credentials and have a rewarding career in IT. So that's all I have at this point. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate. I'm excited about this conversation, excited about the work ahead and working with our young learners and young adults. And I'll pause if Judy or Camille from our Worksession Montgomery team have any comments.
The only comment, Anthony, that I would have is that you might want to talk about the pre-apprenticeship green programs that we're going to be looking into.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, just increasing apprenticeship is one of our goals, registered apprenticeship. So right now we're working with several of our apprenticeship sponsors, union and non-union, to develop pre-apprenticeship programs that are directly connected to registered apprenticeship opportunities in green job areas, as well as other areas as well. So we're excited about that, and that's something that should be implemented early next fiscal year, and we'll be sure to circulate the collateral material so all of you can share with your constituents as well as your customers. But for young learners who are graduating or who may have not graduated, who are looking to get into the building trades, there'll be an opportunity for them to explore building trades from a theoretical and practical standpoint. And if they get to a certain point in their training, we're working with the apprenticeship sponsors to, as best we can, ensure that there is a job at the end of that pre-apprenticeship opportunity. So that's an exciting initiative that we're working on now.
Thank you. Ms. McKenzie. Good. Okay. Just really quickly, did you say?
I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute my camera. I'm sorry about that. No, as I said, Anthony pretty much covered a lot of it, and also that partnership with our service providers. Our service providers that are working with the young adults within Montgomery County. We're doing more collaborative work with them. He talked about the project with Literacy Council and various things. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline in the new program year.
Terrific. We're going to hear from MCEDC, but just very briefly, Anthony, did you were last time we talked, we were thinking about a tech boot camp. You seem to be describing that a bit. Can you share some more?
Sure, and this would, I guess, be the second iteration, but with the tech boot camp that we're working with the Literacy Council of Montgomery County and Gabriel Martinez Cabrera on is a stackable credential program where our learners are first receiving training in their credential through CompTIA and their Fundamentals of IT program. Once they finish that opportunity or that credential, then they'll move on to A+ certifications through CompTIA. And at that point, we want to provide a work and learn opportunity where we utilize some of our WIOA on-the-job training fund, where we subsidize their employment with some of our local employers. And then we're still exploring the possibility of moving on to Network Plus, but we want to get to a point where we can get the A+ and get some entry-level employment, subsidizing that employment to help our employers' bottom line out the gate. So that's where we are right now. The program is just starting, and we want to use the funds that we had discussed, Councilmember Reamer, to continue to pilot that program for young learners, as well as other populations that we serve.
That's great. We'll hear more about that ongoing, but I'm glad to hear about that. Okay, let's go to MCEDC. Right, Nicole?
Yes, we do have Ben Wu here from MCEDC to touch base on anything they would like to include. Thank you.
Well, let me say thank you to the two chairs for this hearing and for the opportunity to present. You know, I am the last speaker, so that means I think I get the last word. But I think it should also be emphasized that I'm hardly the most definitive speaker because MCDC, we are what I hope is an important partner, but we're a tangential partner to all the players that have already spoken before. And in my time with MCDC, what I've seen is that there really is a new paradigm, and I think that should be the takeaway from this hearing, that what we're seeing now is a holistic reformation of how workforce development is being tied in with our academic institutions. And we are being asked to play roles within our academic institutions that, quite frankly, we've never been asked to play before, at least in a significant way. So, you know, what Elaine is trying to do with her monthly meetings is to bring in organizations like WorkSource Montgomery, MCDC, so that we can be an entity that can help execute some of the deliverables that are being created. And that's refreshing, but it's also very important and exciting as well. You know, what MCDC, we recognize the importance of having the academic institutions such as Montgomery College and USG be economic drivers for our community because those institutions, along with MCPS, which is 46.6% of the FY22 budget, can bring so much in terms of resources, in terms of leveraging assets to being able to make our county in our area as competitive as it can be, to be able to meet the talent pipeline, to be able to help develop sector strategies. And one of our main partners in that effort is WorkSource Montgomery. You know, we're co-located together because, not just because it's fun to be able to hang out and see the WorkSource Montgomery folks, but also because there's a recognition back from the founders of the privatized entities just a few years ago that we have to work together and that our missions overlap, and as a result we need to be not just connected physically but also connected programmatically, and being able to work with Anthony, who is transforming that organization, and being able to partner with WorkSource, especially being able to tie into some of the federal and state funding that we might not otherwise be able to connect with within MCDC, is so very important. And so, you know, these partners are really taking a holistic, transformative, and reformative look at how we need to do sector strategies, workforce development, and also enhance our talent pipeline. And so we're very pleased to be part of that process. I would like to just briefly, because I know that we've had a long day already, to be able to just amplify and reinforce a couple of initiatives that had already been mentioned. The Bio Boot Camp, the partnership between Workforce Montgomery, MCDC, Montgomery College, as well as USG is so important to be able to recognize that our county, while we have an innovation-led economy, that our county also needs to, and those companies within those counties need to be able to develop a workforce that doesn't require necessarily a highly talented or highly skilled education. It can also be ones that help feed in to entry level and some of the critical work that's being done within the labs. And especially if we can help displaced workers now during the pandemic, that's a perfect marriage for what we should be doing within the county. And so being able to work with our academic institutions, Workforce Montgomery, and being able to partner with initiatives like that is just very exciting. And being able to expand it, we just finished up the first Bio Boot Camp. We're in the throes of looking at the successes and lessons learned for developing a potentially second one. Anthony has been able to secure funding from the state that might be able to cover the cost for additional boot camps and even expand it out to IT. So, that's all very exciting and one that I think is worth continuing to keep an emphasis towards. It was also mentioned Montgomery Can Code, which is a partnership that we have with Montgomery College, but also more importantly with Apple to be able to bring in the private sector support. And the county executive's budget, as you may have seen, also would expand Montgomery Can Code. And this will be the third year. We already had a significant expansion from the first year, last year, even though we had to do it in a virtual environment. And so hopefully with the additional financial support, we can continue to even build upon it even further. And this is an effort with MCPS too, with the recognition that if for us to continue to build upon our innovation-led economy, that we have to start within the MCPS level, get the kids while they're young, especially we're looking at racial equity and gender equity as well, and then build that up towards the future where they can eventually work with their Apple coding to potentially make them attractive for future jobs as well. And it's not directly related, but as a tangential activity related to the Montgomery Can Code is this weekend's MoCo Hackathon, which Councilman Friedson will be pleased to know his alma mater is helping to lead that, Churchill High School. And it's a 36-hour hackathon event that's being really pushed by the kids within MCPS. And so, once again, this is a holistic approach so that we can take the kids while they're young, move them within the academic institutions of Montgomery College as well as USG, and then engage them with Workforce Montgomery and MCDC towards new jobs. And you'll see this also, this model replicated for an area like quantum. Quantum is an issue that I know the council members are very interested in. It was highlighted in the REACH Advisors report. The county executive has also embraced it as a potential priority. And quantum is a nascent technology, but it has the ability to intersect on so many industry sectors. And so for us to be able to take advantage of our pre-existing assets to try to create new companies for quantum, I think we need to work collectively within MCPS, Montgomery College, and also USG so that we can have that foundation for workforce as well as education. And so we're going to begin the conversation. Lane, I think, has that teed up for a meeting coming up. So that's one of the areas that we want to push as well. And then, if there's any question about why quantum, the IonQ public offering with $2 billion that is located over at College Park, the University of Maryland College Park, that I think gives everybody enough confidence that quantum is an area we really want to be in. And also, if we can find an intersection between all of our life sciences assets in Montgomery County, we might be able to develop attraction and headquarters opportunities for major facilities so that we can be ahead of the curve in developing this nascent technology that would give us a competitive edge, not just nationally, but regionally, but also internationally as well. So I'm just very excited about this new paradigm that's being created. I want to thank the leaders of MCPS, Montgomery College, also USG, and also Anthony for being such a great partner. And we look forward to offering what we can at MCDC to help further this cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great comments. I'm going to, just a second here, turn it to my co-chair who has some comments, questions, and then Councilmember Navarro is teed up after that. I just wanted to say, on this question of quantum, the IonQ going public, as you said, this region is at the origin story of quantum. And Montgomery County is poised to be able to capitalize on that. One way that we're going to capitalize on that is with the Purple Line. And there is going to be a time when, because of the Purple Line, we are much more tightly integrated into UMD. And they are maybe even at this same table with us and feeling like they're just as much a part of our economy as Prince George's, or at least, 4951. That would be nice. But we need to keep the Purple Line on track. And I am very concerned about this proposal to ask the state to single track the Purple Line, which would reduce its future service and make it harder for students or employees or investors or whoever to go back and forth between our labs and our classrooms and our county companies and so forth. So, these things are all related. They are all related. Councilmember Rice.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. And let me just say that I really want to thank each and every one of you as partners for really doing what we said and thinking, we oftentimes say outside of the box, but looking outside of our circle about how we can broaden and step into these other realms. And the reason why I use circle is because, when I think about Venn diagrams and all of the times in which folks stay within their lanes, and I think that it was Mr. Wu who said it best, these relationships haven't been there before and haven't been as strong as they are right now. And that is unique across all sectors, right? So this isn't just between MCEDC and WorkSource or MCEDC and MCPS. This is about all of them. And so when I look at the stronger relationship that's been forged between MC, right, between Montgomery College and MCPS, beyond just looking at ACEs, beyond just looking at, and really, and exploring dual enrollment and all different kinds of things, and really taking a harder look at career pathways and what that truly means and how each person is responsible for that seamless handoff. It's not just about doing your part, right? And saying, okay, well, I prepped them, now they're yours. We saw that with the whole, and Councilmember Navarro will remember this, when we were talking about AccuPlacer. And we were talking about all the challenges with AccuPlacer and how it was because we weren't talking to each other and there was a disconnect. And so obviously we needed to fix some of that to ensure that folks, as they transition, we knew exactly what it was that they were teaching at the K through 12 level and make sure that we understood what those expectations were as they matriculated on to the institutes of higher education level. And that was the first foray in saying that we needed to do a better job of this assumed sort of relationship and conversation. And it's not to say that it didn't happen before, don't get me wrong, but it's gotten so much stronger and so much better on so many facets. And so what I think that bold ask that Councilmember Navarro is talking about is how we're going to continue to take this to the next level. And so I really just want to start with some direct asks of folks, because look, we've done the groundwork now. The relationships are laid. Folks are now talking. So let's get some accomplishments under our belt. When it comes to boot camps, we've done a great job with Bio Boot Camp. So we need to take it to the next level and expand into some other career pathways. So what are we doing when it comes to a teaching career pathway, when it comes to an early care and education pathway? Let's do that. What do we need to do to make that happen? And so that question is for both WorkSource Montgomery, I guess, and Montgomery College. What do we need to do as a council to ensure that we can establish these pathways and get the ball rolling?
Sorry about that. It was just playing with my mute.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a great question, and I don't know if I have the concrete answer right now. I'd want to confer with our partners at Montgomery College to do an inventory on where training is available and dive into the labor market, as well as who we have in our system right now, as far as our unemployed and underemployed workers. But I think that's a timely question. It's not just about IT and life sciences. It's about those other industries, entrepreneurship as well. We're getting a lot of folks that want to come in and come and go in that direction. But it's something that I'll make sure that I follow up on and connecting with our partners in Montgomery College on.
Yeah, so that is certainly, Councilmember Rice, very important need, early childhood care boot camp. That's something college, as you know, in the last couple of years, county has been extremely helpful funding-wise in that area. We should be able to establish a similar boot camp in that area. I also want to see is that for every sector of economy where we have jobs, healthcare certainly is our top. Only 1% unemployment, average salaries is 115,000. IT is next. So creating similar boot camps in all areas. What I like a lot about our biomanufacturing boot camp that we had at USG and also at Montgomery College, this boot camp was not for people who are already in STEM areas. This was not for life sciences. It was for people in the hospitality industry who have lost jobs. And we recognize their skills because, you know, people who are in hospitality industry, they also follow standard operating procedures. You cook, you take order, you follow process, right? So they had that skills, and recognition of that skill was important. And some of these people went through the boot camp and they're getting, good job offers. So doing that in all areas, Montgomery College is committed. We are ready to move forward.
Excellent.
And I think, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think one concrete, practical step toward that kind of sector strategy that connects the boot camp is a process called DACUM, develop a curriculum, where it's sort of a roll your sleeves up with the employers and develop a curriculum that aligns completely with the workforce skills that the employers are looking for, and also identifies those specific gateway occupations. We often talk in general about IT and health sciences and other industries, but what are the occupations that allow our students to get into a gateway occupation, and what specific skills are needed? And we sit down with each industry and do what's called a DACUM, with industry essentially validating the curriculum and validating the skills that are going to go into that program, and then agreeing to hire. And it doesn't take a huge group of employers. It can be a small group who are willing to roll their sleeves up industry by industry and get that process started.
Dr. Kadimi, you were going to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say I think that the boot camps are not only a great way to meet point of view learning and to meet the priorities that are there, to give people who are skilled otherwise to get these skill sets, but I think it's also a great way to kind of explore the nature of talent for these. So let me just give an example. I was talking with Jeff Galvin a few weeks ago, who's the CEO of AGT, American Gene Technology. And he described some of the students coming out of the programs here at Shady Grove. He said, they're intellectual decathletes. I thought, well, that is really cool. That's really cool. What do you mean by that? And he said, they have not only their skill sets, their technical skill sets that are needed, but they've been through their time at Montgomery College, through their time in Montgomery County Public Schools. They've been exposed to lots of different disciplines and critical ways of thinking and problem solving. And I think that the boot camps provide us an opportunity to explore what those might be. And so industry has very specific needs. Any industry has very specific needs and very specific credentialing. But a lot of times the success comes from the ability to expand beyond that and think beyond that. And so I just think that the bio boot camp programs, or the boot camp programs, they give us a chance to explore some of that. So people coming into the bio boot camps, they weren't trained to be working in the biosciences. And let's see what their success looks like, and let's see how that broader talent base, that broader set of skills can be helpful. So as we're talking about pipelines, as we're talking about pathways, we can't lose sight of the importance of this broader rounding of critical thinking and problem solving, and bringing so much to the workforce as well. So I just want to put that out there as something for us to keep in mind.
Mr. Featherstone.
Yes, excuse me, and I would add that, and I'm still learning, I guess, the ins and outs about the biotech boot camp, but if there is a path to adding our biotech boot camp to our eligible training provider list, and we're talking about federal and state resources at this point, and we would have to get creative with our application and really have our employers with skin in the game. I think from a workforce development standpoint, then we operationalize and automatically scale if we can start to utilize those federal resources and not have to, depend on different entities pulling certain pots of money and figuring out who funds the next program. So I think from a workforce development / WIOA standpoint, if there's a path to the eligible training provider list for the biotech boot camp and other boot camps, then we let the feds and the state pay for it. And then we can just weave it into our system as a whole.
That is music to my ears, sir. And this is the reason why, right, we want to have these conversations, because just as we framed at the beginning, and thank you, Councilmember Navarro, for just putting that charge out there, was this, and I want to thank Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez for really laying this out in the packet as well. We really do want to take away some deliverables from this and start saying, listen, we know that we're going to have to be firing on all cylinders when it comes to our response to the decimation that we've seen of our economy via COVID, right? And so we're going to have to do all of these things, not just pick and choose one and say, okay, let's focus on healthcare, or let's focus on childcare, or whatever. We're going to have to do all of the above and then some. And I'm really appreciative, and Mr. Greenfield, you said it, and then Dr. Kademian, you said it as well. You know, we also have to make sure that, you know, we're always so hung up on degrees and not so much hung up on skills, and understanding that employers are truly looking for those skills, right? That's what they're looking for. And while degrees are great, don't get me wrong, and it's important to have, it's also really important to have those skill sets, and we need to be having those same conversations at the same level. We can't put one above the other, because one of the things that I've heard, Dr. Kademian, similar to you, is in talking to CEOs that they say, look, I've got tons of skilled people, tons of degreed and credentialed folks who I still have to teach how to do the job because they don't have the skills necessary to be successful in that role. Just because you got straight A's at MIT does not mean that you're going to be a great employee and be able to get the job done. I still have to teach you some of those things if you don't have those skills. And it's not to say, not to disparage my good folks coming out of MIT, but it's one of those where it is really important for us to have those conversations on the same level. I just want to close with one last thing, Mr. Chair, and then I'll turn it back to you. Mr. Featherstone, you mentioned this, and this is something that is near and dear to my heart, mainly because of Conservation Corps and the work I've done with these young people around preparing our people of color for one of the job career pathways of the future, which is our green economy. Truly understanding that when it comes to everything from stream restoration to solar installations to all different kinds of new energy sources to, you know, making sure that we understand about electric vehicles and all the things that are out there that relate to our green economy. Oftentimes who we see lagging at the very last are our people of color. And part of it is that they just don't know about the future of these jobs. And so part of it is educating them about them and then getting them skilled up so that they can enter into these new pathways. And so I'm very excited and want to learn more about the apprenticeship program that you guys are looking to do, because I think, again, that ties directly, you know, when it comes to our utilities, right? Every single one of our utilities is also migrating towards green. So if it's WSSC, if it's Pepco, if it's Washington Gas, all of them are changing their models to be more green. And so that green economy affects all of those. You know, when I toured Conowingo Dam and had a chance to talk to the folks there about what it is that they're doing. A large percentage, I think it was 65, if not 70% of their workforce is eligible for retirement. That says something, and that's a huge cohort of jobs that are available to folks. And so as we talk about, and I can't remember who was the one who said about $30,000 or less, I think it might have been you, Dr. Rai, right. Why are we preparing folks for jobs that will pay folks $30,000 or less when I can pay them $50,000, get them prepared for $50,000 plus jobs that they'll have in perpetuity that they'll be able to retire from and keep elevating up the ladder and go somewhere else if they want to, right? And so that's what we want to start prepping for. We don't want to prep for the bottom. We certainly understand there will always be jobs, and keep in mind, don't get me wrong, there will be jobs that will be at the lower end of the pay scale and lower end of the skill scale. We know that and understand that, but we can put people in that are just starting off in those jobs. But we can also skill people up and make sure that they have the skills necessary for these other jobs as well. What we want to do is have a variety of choices, similar to the same approach that we have when it comes to housing. And we always talk about how we've got lower and high income, but we don't have that middle, where we're missing some of those things when it comes to our economy and skilling up our individuals as well. We've got to have all of those jobs all across the spectrum for all of our residents, not just for those who are gifted at the beginning with the ability to be able to pick and choose which ones they would like to have. And so when we get to that point, I think that we've done and achieved the equity that we talked about when Councilmember Navarro led us through our racial equity and social justice. That is where we will see success, when folks will be able to pick and choose. I'm not about money. I'm about making sure that I can do something for my community and make that choice. I want to have that for everyone, right? But I also want to have the opportunity for those who are looking to lift themselves out of the impoverished situation that they find themselves in. They also are afforded that same opportunity and that same pathway. Doing all of the things we talked about today, all of the things and doubling down on many of them, so helping to expand them, like what Council Member Tawanda was saying, and scaling up. Those are the kinds of things that we've got to do. The opportunity is upon us. The time is right. We see investment from the federal government. The attention is there. So if we don't get it right now, I don't know when we will. We couldn't be more prepared based on the work that each and every one of you have done to this point. So let's seize on that. Let's make sure that we're aggressive and that we start pulling some deliverables out of this incredibly tumultuous time that we find ourselves in, and actually find ourselves stronger and more resilient as a result. So thank you, and I turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Terrific. This is exciting. In January 2019, we had a really helpful conversation about talent pipelines and how to invigorate our thinking there. And, we knew that we had organizations that are executing in all these ways, and what we needed to do was get everyone aligned more. And I think that has been building and building, as you've said. And yet, I think the sky's the limit. So we can do a lot more too. Terrific. Any additional comments here from council colleagues?
I think I was next in line.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's okay.
Lost track. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And actually, one of the main reasons when I was president in 2019 that I made the change of workforce development and anything related to that to be a joint committee is because the intersection of education and economic development is so critical. And that is why I think these conversations have been so robust, and hopefully it has also helped strengthen this notion of how this is definitely a continuum that we have to achieve through this collaboration. And when Mr. Wu, you were talking about, the tangential effect or role that you play, I wanted to say, no, you're central. You're central because it is absolutely necessary for this ecosystem to be, strengthened. We need to, for example, have, the Economic Development Corporation, constantly identifying those opportunities and, sharing the information about, hey, these are those sectors that we have to strengthen. How do we do that, right? And with that information, then our educational partners are able to come in, Worksource Montgomery is able to come in, and then we can make this happen. And, I've shared this anecdote for a very long time because I remember it was such an aha moment, just a random conversation on an airplane with a gentleman from India who was explaining to me what he did for a living. And he said that he basically exports human talent around the world, basically scouting other countries sometimes who have a need for, he said, let's say Germany has a need for 2,000 dentists, and basically come back, retool the curriculum in these universities, and produce the 2,000 dentists. And it was just striking to me because I remember just thinking, this is what we have to do. I mean, we have to, first of all, agree on the narrative for Montgomery County, right? Like, where is it that we want to go? Who are our, what is our human capital? We're so fortunate to have such an extraordinarily diverse community. We're so fortunate to have all of you running these institutions that are such, high quality, high functioning institutions. And so once we understand what our vision is and what our gaps are, we can strategically begin to populate that and literally brand ourselves and market ourselves that way. I think that's why this is so exciting, because it is true, as Councilmember Rice said, for a while we've just had, we struggled getting everybody collaborating, and also I think decision makers understanding what it was that we needed to support and how to do that. And I do believe that we have reached a very important moment because that collaboration is producing, actual results. And this pandemic is forcing us to just take that leap. And so this is super, super exciting. I'm wondering if it's possible for our staff to then work with all our partners and the members of the committee to identify some of those types of either the specific initiatives or boot camps that we would like to see, in light of some of the investments that we have made and the gaps we have identified. So of course, things like, the multicultural, multilingual healthcare, mental health professional conversation that we talked about, early care and education, biotech, life science, those areas that we have already identified and began to invest. It would be awesome if we could then have maybe a shorter work session to just see how can we best, boost all of this, taking advantage of some of the funding that will come forward. That would be, I think, really exciting if this could be one of the tangible follow-ups from this conversation and kind of get going. There is nothing more exciting to me that to see sort of light bulbs going off on these young people's minds when you're able to say, right here next to Springbrook, there is a project called Viva White Oak, and to show them the renderings and the possibilities and to say, you could work there. There's a whole continuum of jobs that will become available in the future. You could start preparing now. And for them to realize that really, I can, I can go through this code as second language, curriculum and then continue on into these types of, classes, and then perhaps have some certification, et cetera, that can prepare me to at least get my foot in the door with some of those potential future opportunities. That checks so many boxes for us because it does help lift people and really open up access to opportunities. Sometimes I feel like people get confused when we talk about equity. I think Councilmember Rice touched upon that. It's not, equity is not just about saying, well, we need to serve those who are hard to reach and the underserved, the low-income people. It's not about that kind of handout. It's about making sure that the opportunities are there for, so that everybody can access that. and take it to the next level. That is equity. It's equity and access to opportunity. And this county can do that. So I'm hoping that we can specifically, narrow down some of these areas and then put some kind of, oomph behind it and see where we can go. But I just really want to express my appreciation to everyone that has been working so diligently, especially through this whole pandemic, to keep this going. This I think would be super exciting, and and I think the region will benefit as well as I think as we succeed, the region succeeds as well. So that's really exciting. So I look forward to that as well.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could thank Councilwoman Navarro for her remarks. At MCDC, I guess you could consider us the bread in a crab cake. Some people think that we're just filler. Some people think that we're a crucial binding element. But for us, I think we're just happy to be part of the crab cake. What we've seen is this new paradigm, and we're really excited to be part of it. And being able to bring in the industry perspective and that connection, I think is critical also to the success of these workforce development issues.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Terrific. So I definitely agree about following up with additional boot camp concepts, and so we'll add that to the list. Thank you. And we've had great discussion. All right. Well, good.
Can I just close on one thing? And I really want to thank Ms. Chang Baxter, but also all of the folks who continue to stand up our Summarize program, even through the pandemic. Between that and Montgomery Can Code, two programs really focused on delivering to our children, mainly of color, of lower socioeconomic status, and ensuring that they had opportunities to still be able to see other things that were out there during this time was just incredible. And so I just really want to thank you for the work in being able to make that happen. I know that was not easy in the midst of a pandemic. And so all of you should be incredibly proud, not just of being able to navigate through this difficult time, but also in respect to, as you heard Councilmember Jawando and others referring to kids in their mental health, having those kind of connections and having the ability to step outside for just a bit to be able to do those kinds of things were also mentally helpful as well. I can assure you. And so from that perspective, it went so far beyond just about what it is that they're going to do in the future and opening up their eyes to different kinds of things that may be on the horizon for them. But it also served another purpose as well. And so just really want to thank you guys for your great work in that effort. And for my colleagues, more to share. Apple has been paying very close attention to what it is that we've been able to accomplish through the Montgomery Can Code program. And as soon as I'm able to share, I will certainly brief the entire council on what the latest will be coming from Apple headquarters and what they'd like to see in terms of continued partnership between Montgomery County and the company. And so we're very, very excited about the potential that's there and some of the great things that may come out of this. And this, of course, affects every single person that's on this call. So certainly from that respect, we will share more as we can. But really excited about the great work that's been done to lay the foundation for this great potential. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Terrific. That's good news. Be really exciting to deepen that partnership. And I understand the schools may have some expansion of the KID programs, KID Museum partnership. Is that right? Yep.
Yes. Yes. Starting this summer and into next school year.
Terrific. Well, we'll look forward to learning a lot more about that. Lots happening, lots of progress, a lot of really powerful institutions at the table with capabilities and scale and aligning and building upon one another. It's really exciting. It's been certainly, I can say for speaking similar to other council members, for me, this has been one of my highest priorities. It's one of our most important economic development strategies. It's a matter of building our economy. It's also a matter of social equity. The two, fortunately, go together very nicely here. All right. Is there Miss Floyd, Dr. Floyd?
Yes, I did just want to share one more thing before we dismiss. I heard a lot of comments, particularly as it related to our need to make sure that we are making our students, making sure that they are not only employed, but that they remain with us. And I wanted to just point out 2 points. With our early college programs, when we select degrees, we're very intentional about looking at the labor market here in the county. We have 13 degrees now. We mentioned next fall we were going to roll out the behavior health science degree, but we are also going to roll out iCloud up county. And Mr. Greenfield, you could not, am I correct? Is iCloud? I want to call it iCloud computing for some reason, but that is synonymous with what we're doing with PTech down county or PTech up county. And I also wanted to share that on April 7th, we are working very collaboratively with our human resource department, and we are having a career event for our students who are in those programs, because we want to make sure that they know that we have a place for them in MCPS. So when they get their degree, and until we have a system in place where we probably can pay for them to matriculate through on to their 4-year degree, and it's free, many of our students still need to work while they're pursuing their 4-year degree. So they left us with an associate's degree and it's free, but now they need to pay for their 4-year degree. So we want to hire students when they complete those degree programs here at MCPS and hopefully entice them to stay with us, because some of them, when they think about MCPS, they only think about teaching. And we have to make sure that they know we need those who are in technology, we need accountants, we need a lot of different fields in MCPS. So we are very intentional. I think it was Councilmember Novato who said we wanted to make sure that they stay with us. And I just wanted to share that that's some of the work that we're doing. We're trying to be very intentional and strategic in making sure that we not only educate them, but we employ them and they stay with us. Thank you for that moment.
Well said. Really important points. Well, we're making progress. It's good to see everyone's rowing in the same direction. I think we have a very similar vision here. So when you have capable partners with the same vision working together, the sky's the limit. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Craig Rice. Thank you, all my colleagues and all of our partners.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.